Howdy, guys.
Hey, Dean, what's up? We're just talking about
Good
video games.
morning. I love when it all works, man.
Yep, absolutely, man. Well, dude, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you, man. My name's Ned. I'm here at Rock 108, and we're getting excited for your show October 20th at Club 5 inside the Powerhouse in Cedar Rapids. How are you doing, Dean?
I'm very well. How are you?
Oh, dude, I was just chatting about the weather here in Iowa. Hopefully, it's going to be this way when you get here. It's going to be October, but it's clear skies and 66 degrees out right now.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. I'm going to tell you, man, Iowa has a very special spot in my heart, and I'm going to tell you why.
All
Very
right, tell me.
briefly. The gentleman that found Stone Temple Pilots playing at this dive of a place in East LA. It was called the Shamrock.
Okay.
And I think there were 8 people watching us that night, 5 which have worked there.
Yeah.
So we had about 3 people in the audience, and we
Of
played
course.
like it was going to be our last day on earth.
Yeah.
And Tom Carolyn saw us play that night, and that's how we got signed. And Tom was a good old Iowa boy.
See, it all comes down to the corn state, man. I mean,
I know,
man.
Cool. And I'll tell you, I love that man with all my heart. He's just, just a great, solid cat. And, I heard about Iowa all the time. One of his sayings is, I'm just a kid from Iowa.
Yeah. That's how it's usually said. I'm just from Iowa. And the typical question that I usually get to is like, what is there to do in Iowa? And the first thing everyone always says, you just shut corn all the time. Like, nah, dude, there are things, trust me, including the guy who found Stone Temple Pilots.
Gosh, you guys have the most beautiful countryside, man. All the lakes and hiking and fishing and camping and just, yeah, man, that's where it's at.
Yeah, it's the Midwest.
Just getting into the great outdoors. That's perfection, right?
Yeah. Oh, dude. Oh, it's amazing, perfection, man. The Midwest in general. I mean, I never lived on the coast or anything like that. I've always been a Midwest boy. So I'm used to the big lakes. And when you say camping, hell, I even went camping like a month ago. It's just kind of what you do in the Midwest. You just want to live out in nature.
Oh, it's perfect, man.
Yeah, man. So obviously, Stone Temple Pilots going to be coming to Cedar Rapids on October 20th. Tickets still on sale, by the way, creventslive.com, as well as the Allied Energy Powerhouse. It's so surreal to kind of be talking with you right now, because I've been listening to you guys. I'm going to make you feel old here for a while. I've been listening to you since from like the mid 90s. Like it's been, you're one of those pinnacle bands that when people think of that movement from that time, it's like, well, you had Soundgarden, Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots, and it's just like, wow, dude, it's pretty cool to be talking to Dean DeLeo right now. You're on a Zoom call.
Cool to be talking to you too, man.
Yeah. So the big show coming up too, and obviously with everything, and I'm sure you've been asked this question 9 trillion times at this point. The pandemic still kind of going in it, still kind of doing things. You guys had the tour with Bush, which a few of those dates had to fall off too. How did you guys kind of cope with the whole pandemic in the Stone Temple Pilots way?
Man, honestly, we haven't toured since the summer of 19. We got off the tour. We toured extensively for 2019.
Yeah.
Really toured a lot. We went around the globe, I think 3 times. We kind of finished up with a great tour with the Great Rival Sons. And we were kind of starting to gear up for another round of it for 2020, and then February of 2020 hits and the whole bottom falls out.
Yeah.
And so yeah, man, it was just I don't even know where to begin. It was just so sad on so many levels what was going down in our world, and just trying to make heads or tails. I'm still trying to make heads or tails out of all of it.
Right. Yeah.
Like, what happened here? Anyway, for me personally, there was something that I kind of enjoyed doing the pandemic. I wound up making a record virtually.
Yeah. Oh, that's one thing that we really learned here about this pandemic too. Like, you've been in the game long enough where you do phone interviews and going to a show or whatnot, but here we are visually looking at each other like a communicating human beings and talking over like a Zoom call, which is something that is just becoming commonplace at this point.
Commonplace, man.
Yeah. It's pretty weird.
Well, I mean, think of the change that's going to occur here, like especially within like huge corporations and businesses where these guys can go like, we don't have to pay rent on that building anymore, or all the electricity, or like, I mean, the world has changed, man. It's
Yeah.
just like, I don't know. It's just. I like old school things, man. I like old school. It's
Mm.
just things are changing so rapidly and so quickly. I just can't help. You have kids?
I do. I have one 9-month-old.
Oh, dude, congratulations.
Thanks.
Wow, man. Good for
I'm
you.
I'm trying to get into it. It's a very fun and unique experience.
It's the best thing ever, right? A boy or a girl?
A girl, little girl.
Ah, dude. Nothing like having a daughter, man.
Dude, she's already got me wrapped around this thing right here.
Of course.
The moment she
Of
smiles, I'm like,
course.
well, I gotta buy whatever it is that she smiled at because it's just the cutest damn thing I've ever seen. I'm like, I gotta
Of
have
course.
this.
Of course, man.
But dude, even having a child during the pandemic was like, that was even unique. Even like the birthing process of it all, like everyone's in these space suits from like ET and stuff. I'm like, what is
So were
happening?
you able to be in there?
I was fortunately able to be in there. I was
Oh.
I was a lucky gentleman.
Oh, good for you, man.
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just that whole adjustment period of and getting back to live music. I went and saw my first live show about 2 weeks ago, and it was weirdly like emotional for a fan. And from your perspective, how does it kind of feel to maybe even start getting back into the realm of performing live, getting things together and whatnot?
Well, we've done 2 shows over the last month and a half. We did
Right.
a big show up in Sturgis for that big motorcycle rally up there. We did a huge show up there, 30,000 people.
It's Sturgis.
We did one in Detroit. That was a wonderful, wonderful night. They set up a stage in the middle of the city.
Wow, that's cool.
It wasn't in Detroit. It was in a little suburb called Royal Oak.
Yep, I know Royal Oak.
Oh, man, it was fabulous. And we had, played in front of about 15,000 people, and it was just business as usual, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And just so great to be able to share that
And do it all over. And it's just, it's like you said, getting back to
live
business.
music,
Yeah, yeah. And I hope you know too. I mean, and I'm sure you know as the artist as well, just how much that means to fans when we start seeing our favorite bands back up on stage again. It's truly a weirdly emotional experience that we didn't know we missed until we see our first show again, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is where has this been? And it's really kind of cool. And I'm excited to see it on October 20th, of course, when you guys come to town, man.
Well, you better come back and say hello, man.
Oh, I will. Okay. So another thing I got to point out here too, man, is that I've been a Stone Temple Pilots fan for years.
You're the one.
I am that one guy, but what you have this really unique thing. I listened to it a little bit, and I'm like, wow, this is a really unique. Let's just call it a musical endeavor. Trip the Witch. Can you explain? I mean, like, you have John Anderson from Yes in a track. It's very like kind of, I don't know. Is psychedelic a good word? I don't know if that's a good word for it.
Well, I mean, let's just start with John Anderson.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say enough about that. I mean, John,
it's a legendary musician, man. I
legendary.
mean, it's nuts.
And I also want to point out who I made this record with is the great Tom Bukovac.
Mm-hmm.
Those of you that don't know Tom is from Cleveland, Ohio, and he's been in Nashville for about 28 years. And he has this amazing YouTube channel called Homeschooling with a K.
Okay.
And he's, in my humble opinion, my graceful and humble opinion, I think he's the finest musician and guitar player on the planet.
All right.
And,
hey.
I was introduced to Tom, and we spoke and we hit it off like we knew each other for 100 years, man.
Damn.
And we just started chatting a little more and more, and we just said, let's make a record. And we still haven't even met, Tom and I, face to face. We basically wrote this record doing this.
Yeah, is this the digital record you were talking about? Is the Trip the Witch one? Okay.
Yeah. So Tom and I, we didn't even really use Zoom. We basically just sent videos back to one another, back and forth. We just sent videos like, oh, here's a part, and then he would send me, here's a song, here's a part, and this is pretty much how we made the record. And Tom would cut, his stuff in Nashville, and I would cut my stuff here in LA. And before we knew it, we had a record that was done. And I'll tell you, man, I kind of experienced this in STP, and I surely did experience it here in Trip the Witch. You're only as good as those around you.
Right. Yeah.
And all these cats make me sound pretty good, man.
It's the inspiration that everyone gives out there. It's just like, well, clearly, I mean, hey.
Well, I'm surrounded with some extraordinarily talented people.
That's cool, man. Absolutely. So so is there any plans outside? I mean, for Trip the Witch? I mean, obviously you got pretty busy with STP right now, obviously, but
yeah.
What do you kind of find?
I really want to take us the Trip the Witch thing out on the road and do that, because there's just so much stuff we can tap into between, songs that we just love in general. Songs I've written within Stone Temple Pilots, and then just the kind of the record that Tom and I came up with. So it would be a fun night, man, and really a lot of fun playing,
Yeah, man, it's legit. And what's kind of cool about it too is when I see big rock stars doing like side projects and whatnot, is that you get such a different sense. And everyone, working at a radio station myself at a big rock station, everyone just assumes that I'm just a straight up rocker. That's all I listen to, and I love to have mosh pits and blah blah blah. But sometimes, dude, I like jamming to some symphony music, maybe some psychedelic, whatever. Maybe. And that's what's kind of cool about hearing about Trip the Witch. It's that here's STP, here's Trip the Witch. You get just more into the mind of the artist that you listen to.
Yeah, you're right, man. I mean, I suppose that's called pigeonholing.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way. Yeah.
And honestly, I don't listen to much rock, man. I really don't. And thank God my 9-year-old daughter, actually, she turned me on to Mitski.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Mitski did this record called "Be the Cowboy" or "Be a Cowboy," I think it's called. Wow, that turned out to be one of my favorite records. I think she's extraordinary. And then I have an 18-year-old son that turns me on to some newer music that I just really, really gravitate to. And none of it is. It's not a lot of rock,
Right.
And,
right.
It's interesting because a lot of the stuff you hear on the Trip the Witch record is very it's very melancholic. It's very nostalgia based. It's a little different, but if you go back to like the world of Stone Temple Pilots, one of my favorite songs the band ever cut was a beautiful song that Robert Scott wrote, and it's on the number 4 record, and it's a beautiful track called "I Got You."
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it's very country tinged, and it really allowed me, as the guitar player of the band, it allowed me to kind of step into that world that I love so much. Like, for instance, all that Glenn Campbell stuff, like the solo Glenn takes in Galveston and Wichita Lineman on the baritone guitar. I love that early 50s and 60s country stuff. Jimmy Bryant, Speedy West, Lloyd Green, that whole Nashville scene that was coming out. And so that is really, honestly, one of my favorite songs in the entire STP catalog.
That's cool, man.
And man, I love that side of music. And it's like you said, man, just because you work at a station, people are like, you never take your cans off, do you?
No, this is always what it is. That's all I listen to. It's like, no, I would go crazy if that's all I listen to.
It's funny, man.
No, man. Well, I know we don't have a ton of time left, but the last thing I want to ask you is, and I always love asking this of musicians, when you're on tour, what are like the things, if you're like, say, coming to Cedar Rapids or Ann Arbor or Royal Oak or wherever it may be, if you're going to a restaurant, where are you eating?
Where am I eating?
Yeah.
Well, it depends. If there's a gig that day, I may not have time. Being on the road is very much about making it all happen. And I think the most important thing for us is to be all that we can be for the gig.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it really, the previous night dictates where I'm going to be doing the next day. If I slept in the chandelier the night before, I need some rest, But I'll tell you, man, I usually always loved, no matter what city I kind of come into, I love, I kind of like, when in Rome, I
Yeah.
kind of really try to take in more of the local side of things and just try to take in what that particular place has to offer.
Legit, man. Well, if
Yeah.
you're here and you find a place, there's a couple places obviously in Cedar Rapids, but some good Iowa beef steak, man. Just get yourself a steak and some sweet corn, dude. You'll be good to go.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
Well,
that sounds great.
Dean, it was such an awesome time hanging out with you, man. I know you got to go and do some more stuff, but make sure you check out Stone Temple Pilots October 20th, Club 5, inside the Powerhouse in downtown Cedar Rapids. Tickets still on sale, and go have some fun with that too, man. Have a good time. So, Dean, before we go, because we post this on the website and do all that stuff, we have to do a little like screenshot. So if you have a pose or you just want to smile or whatever it may be or something like that, in about 5 seconds, we'll do a quick pose. Is that cool?
Okay.
All right. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Perfect, man.
All right.
Dude, can't wait
I'll
to
see
see you
you
in
in a couple
October.
weeks.
Yes, absolutely, man. We'll see you soon. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Later, dude.